Welcome back to Narcissism Freedom. If this message found its way to you today, it's not random and it's not coincidence. There is a deeper reason you are hearing this right now, and it has everything to do with what you've been walking through in silence. When people underestimate you, it can feel like a weight you carry in your chest. It shows up in subtle ways, being overlooked in conversations, dismissed in opportunities, or misunderstood even when your intentions are pure. And over time, if you are not careful, that external noise can start to feel like internal truth. But let me remind you of something powerful today. What people fail to recognize in you does not change what God has placed inside you. There is a spiritual tension that happens in seasons of underestimation. On one side, you're being tested by what others think of you. On the other side, you are being shaped by what God knows about you. And those two realities will never agree in the early stages of your transformation. People tend to measure you by what they can currently see. They measure your strength by your current circumstances. They measure your potential by your past mistakes or your present limitations. But heaven does not measure you by where you are. Heaven measures you by what you are becoming. And this is where the misunderstanding begins. There are moments in life where God intentionally allows you to be hidden in plain sight. Not because you are insignificant, but because you are in development. Just like a seed buried in the soil looks like nothing is happening, the truth is everything is happening beneath the surface. Roots are forming, strength is building, stability is being established. And yet, from the outside, it just looks like delay. People may look at your life and assume you are behind. They may assume you are not moving fast enough. They may assume you are not capable, not ready, or not qualified. But what they don't see is the private strengthening God is doing in you when no one is watching. Underestimation has a strange purpose. It reveals who you're anchored in. Because when people fail to see your worth, you are forced to decide whether you will believe their perception or God's purpose. And that decision becomes a turning point in your identity. There is a moment where you stop chasing validation. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who were never assigned to understand you. You stop explaining your journey to those who only see fragments of your story. And in that moment, something powerful happens. You begin to return to yourself. Because not everyone is meant to recognize your calling in its early stages. Some people will only understand your value after the transformation is complete. Some will only see the evidence after the breakthrough has already taken place. And some may never understand at all because they were never meant to. But here's the truth that changes everything. God does not need human agreement to elevate your life. When God decides to shift your story, He does not require permission from your past, your environment, or the opinions of others. He does not need consensus to open doors. He does not need applause to release favor. And He does not need recognition to bring elevation. So while people are forming conclusions about you, God is forming something completely different: destiny. There is a divine pattern you begin to notice when you look back over your life. The seasons where you felt overlooked often became the seasons where you developed the most strength. The moments where you were misunderstood often became the moments where your character deepened. And the times where you were underestimated often became the foundation for your greatest breakthroughs. It was never wasted. Even the silence had purpose. Even the delay had direction. Even the rejection had refinement. Because underestimation has a way of stripping away everything that is not stable within you. It forces you to build confidence that is not dependent on approval. It forces you to develop faith that is not dependent on evidence. And it forces you to trust a process that does not always make sense in the moment. And that is where spiritual maturity begins. There comes a point where you realize you do not need to be understood by everyone to be secure in who you are. You do not need every door to open at the same time. You do not need every person to agree with your journey. You only need to remain aligned with what God is building in you. Because when alignment is intact, elevation becomes inevitable. And this is where the message shifts. Because what follows underestimation is not defeat, it is divine over-delivery. There is a moment in your story where God begins to respond in ways that exceed expectation. Not just meeting what people thought was possible, but going far beyond it. Opening doors that were never spoken about. Creating opportunities that were never planned. Restoring things that were assumed to be lost. This is what it means when God overdelivers. It is not just about success. It is about timing, precision, and undeniable evidence that something greater was at work in your life. And when that moment comes, it often surprises the very people who underestimated you. Not because you spent your life trying to prove them wrong, but because you spent your life becoming who you were created to be. There is a difference. One requires striving. The other requires surrender. One drains you. The other strengthens you. And the more you step into alignment, the less you feel the need to explain yourself to people who are not part of your assignment. So if you are in a season right now where you feel unseen, misunderstood, or underestimated, do not rush the process. Do not shrink yourself to fit the perception of others. Do not abandon your growth just to be accepted by environments you are outgrowing. Stay steady. Stay faithful. Stay becoming. Because what God is building in you right now is not small, and it is not accidental. It is preparation for something that will speak for itself when the time arrives. And when that moment comes, it will not just match expectations, it will exceed them in every direction. So, hold your head up. Not everything that feels like delay is denial. Sometimes it is divine development. You are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. And you are not being delayed. You are being aligned. And when God over-delivers in your life, it will be clear that none of this was ever in vain. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Narcissism Freedom. Your support helps this message reach those who are still in the middle of their becoming. And remember, when people underestimate you, God never just meets expectations. He always exceeds them.